The honourable member from Courtenay-Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, the federal government controls who and how supervised consumption services are provided. These services remain unavailable in most locations across the country, especially in more rural and remote locations. This is despite the fact that we heard from the superintendent, the deputy commissioner of the RCMP, and the BC chiefs of police saying that we need more, not less, safe consumption sites. And we only need to look at Lethbridge, where their death rate is one of the worst in the country. It's triple the per capita death rate of British Columbia, where they closed their safe consumption site. Regina, 65% higher death rate per capita than British Columbia, no safe consumption site. My question to the minister is, when will this government get rid of the red tape and ensure these services are available and funded nationally?
The honourable minister has 49 seconds on the clock.
And with the utmost of respect, I would just turn back the clock. When I first was elected to office, we were coming hot off the heels of a 9-0 decision of the Supreme Court of Canada against the Harper government for failing to authorize safe injection sites. That was in a case called Insight. What we did is reverse that entire pattern with a completely different philosophy and empower safe consumption sites to occur with an exemption under the Narcotics Control Act. That being said, once we've allowed them to occur, we still need applications to come in from provinces that want the sites in their localities. Some provinces want a few, some provinces want none at all. That is the collaborative nature of a federation in terms of a shared jurisdiction over health that we must work within. I appreciate the member's concerns, but I would ask him to express them to the provincial governments of Saskatchewan and Alberta, because that is where they're most appropriately vetted.
Honourable member from Courtenay-Alberni.
That they're not willing to do it. This is the problem. In Lethbridge, they closed them. People are dying. Alberta, since the UCP took power, the Conservatives in Alberta, the death rate has gone up 276% over 5 years. The worst, by far, increase in toxic drug tests. And the vast majority of doctors in Alberta able to prescribe safer supply, they're subject to a $10,000 per day fine if they're caught doing so. Frontline workers who supervise drug consumption and reverse overdoses without a provincial license are subject to the same fines. These penalties are deterring life-saving healthcare during a worsening overdose emergency. Does the minister believe it is appropriate for Alberta to levy a $10,000 per day fine against people providing life-saving first aid by operating informal overdose protection sites while this province shuts them down?
The honourable minister has 50 seconds on the clock.
What I would reiterate, Mr. Chair, through you to the member, is that I share his concerns about addressing the opioid crisis. That is why we have adopted a harm reduction approach. We don't believe in criminalizing behavior that is health-related. That being said, I do not have control over whether applications come in from the government of Saskatchewan or the government of Alberta into Health Canada seeking an exemption under the Narcotics Control Act so that they can operate a safe consumption site. That is not within my purview as Minister of Justice, nor within the federal government's purview. What we can do is provide the tools in place to ensure that the approach is being taken so that we are having a safer supply, reducing the amount of fentanyl that is being used, and saving people's lives. That's what we've tried to do since 2015, and what we'll continue to try to do. But again, I would urge him to express these frustrations directly to the provincial governments with which he is concerned.
The honourable member from Courtenay-Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, the minister keeps saying it's a health issue, but it's a criminal issue still for people in Canada. I don't know. He's got to get this straight here. Is this a case of, this is a case of the province implementing de facto criminalization of medical practices, goes against the Canada Health Act. When will the federal government step in and stop provincial intrusion on its jurisdiction to regulate controlled substances and supervise consumption sites?
The honourable minister has 22 seconds on the clock.
I would reiterate for the edification of the members that through Bill C-5, what we did was adopt many aspects of a original private member's bill that was suggested by the member for Beaches, East York, and in that aspects and approaches towards the issue of simple possession. And that included diversion and alternative measures. Those are concrete examples of how we're taking a different approach, which is more harm reduction focused in terms of the issue of narcotics and simple possession.